Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. So today I wanted to share some makeup products I'm glad I did not buy in 2022. I like to film these videos every once in a while because I do buy a lot of makeup. I review a lot of makeup on my channel, but every once in a while I kind of think about trying something, and then if I just wait, either the hype dies down or I lose interest in it or it gets bad reviews. So today I wanted to share like 10 or 11 products I'm glad I did not buy. If you guys have tried these and they're your favorites or you didn't like them, then let me know, because obviously I haven't tried them. So if it is a really great product or not, let us know in the comments just so we have an idea. But let's jump into it. Okay, let's start with this, the Huda Beauty Glowish Pressed Powder. It retails for $33. Not a terrible price point for a high-end powder. I mean, honestly, I do tend to prefer a lot of drugstore powders because I do go through powder kind of quickly, but whenever a brand launches a powder, I'm usually really curious to try it out because I love trying powder so much. When Huda Beauty launched this, they also launched the Glowish bronzer and the Glowish blush. And I did pick up the bronzer and the blush, and honestly, I was just really underwhelmed by them. I think the way they were marketing the line and kind of sharing it, it sounded like the products were going to have like a natural luminous glow, just something super subtle but really pretty on the skin. Honestly, I found the bronzer and the blush to be super underwhelming. They really didn't look that great on my skin. They kind of looked a little bit lackluster, a little bit dull, and I just didn't understand why they were marketing them as luminous products, because on me, I felt like they were really matte. And not only that, just kind of underwhelming as a whole. So I'm glad I didn't buy the powder from the same line. Although I guess I don't typically love like a super luminous powder, but honestly, I've tried so many powders this year that I've really loved, and a lot of them are from more affordable brands like ColourPop. I still love the NYX powder from last year. I've been enjoying the LYS powder, which is available at Sephora, but I think that's like $18. So in the end, I'm glad I didn't pick this one up. I just felt like the line as a whole wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. There are a couple of Natasha Denona palettes I'm glad I did not buy this year. I don't think I've tried a Natasha Denona palette, or no, I should say I haven't purchased a Natasha Denona palette since she released the Retro palette, and she has come out with a few since then. I do love her eyeshadows so much. I'm wearing the Bina palette on my eyes today, but I'm glad I skipped over these two. So the first one is the Mini Crush palette, which I thought was limited edition, but I just checked the Natasha Denona website and it's still available. So it's a 5-pan mini, it comes with a brush, and I'll link it below in case you want to check out any of these products for yourself. The thing about these palettes is that a lot of the colors look kind of similar. I feel like she does a lot of vibrant pinks and purples around Valentine's Day, and honestly, every time she releases a mini and I'm tempted to grab it, I try to tell myself, practically, I could probably get a very similar look just using the Love palette that I already own. So for the last 2 years, instead of buying the minis, I've just used my Love palette, and it's been really nice because that isn't a palette that I get a ton of use out of the rest of the year, at least lately, because I haven't been wearing a ton of color on my eyes. So every February, well, more like January, February, March, I pull that one back out, I fall in love with it all over again, and it's still great. So I'm glad I ended up skipping over that one just because it caused me to use something else that I already own even more. I also think the Mini Crush had a bunch of repeat shades, and after I looked closely at my collection, I did have at least like 3 of the shades in other palettes. So again, I'm glad I skipped over that one instead of just instantly buying it, because I'm able to pretty much replicate it with my other Natasha Denona palettes. So this was a tough one because part of me really wanted to buy this one. This one is the Natasha Denona Pastel Eyeshadow Palette. It is so gorgeous. I love when she does midi palettes because I think the price point is so good for the quality and the amount of shadow that you get. When she did Circo Loco and it was a large palette for $129, it was an easy skip for me because I knew that I wouldn't be able to use it enough to justify the price point. But a midi pastel palette was a little bit more tempting because I do wear pastels more than super intense, colorful, bright shades. It was obviously half the price of the full-size palettes. So anyway, I decided to skip over it, and I'm glad that I did, because at the time I told myself I just didn't think I would use it enough to justify the price point. And I told myself at the same time, I'll just use the pastels that I have in my collection. But this past spring, I didn't wear a ton of pastel eyeshadow, not as much as I've worn in the past. I feel like I kind of wore a good amount of pink. I was leaning more toward like corally warm tones this year rather than like blues and purples and greens. So honestly, if I had purchased it, I'm sure I would have used it, but not enough to justify having it in my collection. And after spring, I just don't tend to wear a lot of pastel eyeshadow in general. So I'm glad I skipped it, as beautiful as it is, and I think it got pretty good reviews. I didn't need to add it to my personal collection. I think it's interesting when it comes to high-end eyeshadow palettes that are a little bit more expensive because some people like to purchase something that's really unique to their collection that they might not use all the time, but something that would just add like a special element. And then some people like to purchase a palette they know they're going to use all the time, even if it is a neutral palette and they have colors that are kind of similar. I think I kind of fall on that side. Like for me, I'd rather spend a little bit more money on a palette I know I'll use all the time, even if I have similar shades in my collection, just because I like the colors or the formula or the finishes, rather than spending a lot of money on something I won't use as much. Where do you guys land? I feel like I see that in the comments of my videos. People usually go one way or the other. Let's talk about a few high-end mascaras. Sometimes high-end mascaras pull me in, especially lately, because I feel like the descriptions and the promo photos are all really tempting, and you obviously have to pay attention to that. Makeup companies are good at what they do. Typically, I feel like they can typically do a good job with the descriptions, the adjectives, the promo photos, but I feel like at this point, when it comes to mascara, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. I recently tried a bunch of mascaras at Sephora because I got one of these Sephora favorite sets, and I did review them all in a speed review style video. So if you guys want to check that out, I'll link it in the description box below. But there are a couple of high-end mascaras I'm glad I didn't buy. So Milk Makeup released one. I feel like this one just kind of flew under the radar. I haven't heard anyone talk about this. It is the Rise Lifting and Lengthening Mascara. When they released the Kush mascara, that got so much hype, and I feel like it still does. A lot of people love that one. It is their absolute favorite. That one didn't work for me, and I did try it again recently, and it just doesn't do anything for my lashes. I feel like I get natural definition, but I usually want something really, really dramatic, so that one wasn't for me, and because of that, I decided to skip over this one. And again, I'm glad I did because I haven't heard anyone talking about this at all. I completely forgot about it until I was kind of going back and looking at 2022 makeup launches. And sometimes products get no hype and they're just like these hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about. But I do feel like when it comes to a brand like Milk Makeup, I'd rather not spend $28 on a mascara that I haven't seen anyone mention, just because there is a high likelihood it's probably just not worth that price tag for me personally. So if you guys have tried it, let me know. How do you think it compares to the Kush mascara? Same with this one from Urban Decay. I totally forgot about this. It's the Wild Lash Volumizing Mascara. This launched at the same time as the Wild Greens palette, but I don't think I saw anyone reviewing or talking about this one. This one did look a little bit more interesting to me. The wand is just kind of an interesting shape. The promo photos didn't look super enhanced, and they did make me kind of curious to try it out. And Urban Decay mascaras do tend to work for me. I love the Perversion mascara. I love the Lash Freak mascara. But again, because I haven't heard anything about this one, I'm glad I skipped over it because I feel like if a mascara is really good, I would have seen someone mention it somewhere. But again, maybe it is just one of those hidden gems not a lot of people have tried. Like I said, there are some high-end mascaras that I like, but when it comes down to it, I feel like mascara is something the drugstore just does really, really well. Today, I'm wearing the Milani, why did I say that weird? The Milani Anti-Gravity Mascara, and that one does a great job, and I think it's under $10. So when it comes to certain categories, there are categories where I tend to prefer to shop at the drugstore, and even though there are a couple of standout mascaras, generally I stick with my drugstore favorites as a whole. Makeup by Mario is a brand that generally catches my eye, and whatever the brand launches, I'm kind of curious about, and I have tried a good amount of the products, but there is one that I'm glad I didn't buy. These are the Ultra Suede Cozy Lip Creams, and they retail for $24. One thing that I just don't buy anymore are uncomfortable lip products. There are so many lip products out there, and I feel like even if you're into a certain style that tends to be a little bit more uncomfortable, like a matte liquid lipstick, you can still find formulas that are a little bit more comfortable. For me, I just don't wear a ton of matte lipsticks these days. I am wearing one today, but I put lip gloss on top. I'm wearing a Too Faced lipstick, and then on top I just have the NYX This Is Milky gloss. So I feel like there are ways to make them work, but for me, I tend to just go for like really glossy lipsticks these days or really moisturizing options, not anything too matte. So because of that, I really try not to buy makeup products that I don't think I'll absolutely love and get a ton of use out of. And Makeup by Mario has a lot of products that I love. If I'm going to buy a lip product, it's definitely going to be another one of the Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serums because those are so good. So these are basically just like matte liquid lipsticks. They say that they're supposed to be a little bit more comfortable. I mean, they're called ultra suede cozy lip creams. But in the end, I just don't get a ton of use out of like any sort of liquid lipstick these days. So I don't plan on buying any more for a long time. And like I said, his Moisture Glow Plumping Lip Serums are amazing. So if you're kind of like me and you prefer a more comfortable product, go with those. There is a makeup line that I'm glad I didn't try. This has gotten so many mixed reviews, and not necessarily even just mixed reviews. It's gotten a lot of negative reviews. I've seen people who say, like, I'm the biggest Ariana Grande fan, but I don't like the makeup. So I don't necessarily think it's people just being picky about the line. As soon as it launched, it didn't really look super appealing. It kind of looked like a mix between Clinique and Claire's, and I feel like every future launch that they kind of tease looks the same way. I personally just feel like it's a little bit too expensive for cheap packaging and formulas that are mediocre. I think a lot of people say once you get the packaging in person, it looks and feels a little bit nicer than it does online. But as a whole, there are just so many makeup lines out there that I'm glad I skipped over this one because it does tend to get a lot of negative reviews. I'm sure there are some standout products that work really well, but I can't even name them because I feel like in general, people just don't have good things to say about it. And I just feel like it's a little bit of a boring line, to be honest with you. It just doesn't really pull me in. And as a whole, it hasn't really caught my attention. So that's not a line I plan on trying in the future, and for now, I'm glad I skipped over it. Let me share a few eyeshadow palettes with you. As a whole, I'm glad that I have cut down on purchasing eyeshadow palettes. I still tried a good amount this year because I purchased some, I got some in the mail as PR, and I like to review palettes on my channel if at all possible. But as a whole, I feel like I've just been able to enjoy my existing collection more than ever, which has felt really, really good. One specific palette I'm glad I didn't buy is this one from Mel. It's their Gemini 2 palette. I remember the Gemini original being pretty popular, and I think it was discontinued and they brought it back and then they came out with the second version. I actually like the second version a lot better. I think it has more of a range. You do get some greens, you get some pinks, a couple of red tones. I actually think the colors are so pretty, but I think as a whole, Mel isn't as popular as they used to be. And I think part of the reason is because their formulas tend to be very inconsistent, at least their eyeshadow formulas. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes their palettes are really good, sometimes they're underwhelming, and I just remember when they used to launch palettes and everyone would get so excited about them. And I feel like for a while it was a really hyped up brand, but I think their reputation has been a little bit damaged by the inconsistency when it comes to their formulas. So I'm glad I skipped over this one. Again, it's a palette that I haven't heard anyone talk about. Have you guys tried this palette? If you have, what do you think? When they launched this, there were a lot of like rosy toned palettes being released, and I personally purchased the Patrick Ta 2 or Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2, but I think other brands did like rosy toned palettes at the same time too. So I think this one maybe got a little bit overlooked. I'm on Sephora's website. It only has 17 reviews. It has 4.4 stars, so not terrible, but I feel like 17 reviews isn't a lot. That's not necessarily an indication of how many people actually purchased it, but generally, when a palette or a product only has 17 reviews, I feel like it can't really be that high of a seller. I wonder if we'll see this one on sale soon because a lot of their palettes have been discounted over the past year or two. The Gemini 1 palette, I'm just looking at it now, is really pretty. I remember that one getting pretty good reviews. It has a good mix of neutrals and greens. Personally, I do like the colors in Gemini 2, but I don't know. I don't really plan on picking up a lot of melt palettes in the future just because you never know what you're going to get, whether it's going to be good or bad. So Artist Couture has been on my list for a little while. I definitely want to try out some of their products. I did try a loose highlighter a few years ago. I think I got it in a BoxyCharm, and I really liked the formula, but their palettes in general are really pretty, and I've been tempted to try them on more than one occasion. This one I think came out around the same time as the Mel Cosmetics palette, the Patrick Ta palette, because like I said, there were like a lot of pinky rosy toned palettes being released. This one's a little bit more purple toned, but there are some pinks in here as well. I have never seen a palette in more fails videos than this one. I haven't really watched any like full reviews on this, but I've watched a couple of like roundup videos or fails videos, and people don't like this palette. They actually hate it, a lot of people. So I don't know. Have you guys tried this one? I feel like the only time I see someone talking about it is when it's in one of like the worst makeup products I've tried or a fails video. So I don't know. I thought the color story was pretty. It kind of reminds me of the Too Faced White Peach palette. Do you guys remember that one? I really liked that color story. I really like this color story, but I have to say I'm glad I didn't buy this one just because it's getting so many negative reviews. I know they make some really great products because in general, I feel like I hear a lot of good things about the brand. I just didn't hear very many good things if any good things at all about this palette. The last thing I wanted to share with you guys is the Ilia Multi-Stick Cream Blush Highlighter and Lip Tint Palette. It retails for $42. I thought about picking this up during the Sephora VIB sale. It was going to be an impulse purchase, which is why I really try not to impulse buy, because in the end, I usually end up regretting it. I am definitely more into cream products this year than I've ever been. Today I'm wearing a cream bronzer and a cream highlighter, and then I'm wearing a liquid blush, which is so weird for me because I never thought I would be into creams. But I've been having so much fun with creams. I think there are just so many good options these days because brands have been releasing so many cream products as a whole. There are just different formulas to try, different textures to try, and whether you have oily skin or dry skin, or you like something super intense or something a little bit more natural, you can typically find something that works well for you. Ilia has been a brand that I've been more curious to try. I tried 2 of their mascaras, which I did enjoy, but this has such bad reviews. And I don't remember having such bad reviews when I thought about buying it during the VIB sale, because I do always check the reviews online just to see what people are saying. But people are saying it has bad pigment, the pans are super small. I am a fan of dipping my brush directly into the cream if at all possible. If it's like a cream stick, I'll just blend it on the skin and then blend it out with a brush or a sponge. But if it comes in like a pot or a pan, I'd rather dip my brush in if at all possible rather than apply it with my fingers and then blend it out. So I feel like the small pans are not ideal for me. I don't know, when it comes to Ilia, I feel like I hear some mixed reviews. There's a product right now that I've seen, the Super Serum Skin Tint. I've seen so many people talking about that, and it does get pretty good reviews, but then I'll read the comments on like a TikTok or a YouTube video, and a lot of people say they don't like it. So I just feel like it's one of those brands that does tend to get a lot of mixed reviews. And I mean, as with anything, makeup is so personal. So what works for one person might not work for another, but I don't know, like I'm more willing to take a chance on something that's not quite as expensive, but Ilia products are up there. They're not super cheap. I mean, this palette is $42. They actually have a lot of products. So again, if you guys have tried anything from this brand you recommend, please let me know. I know this video is all about makeup products. I'm glad I didn't buy, and I asked you for a lot of recommendations, but I'm just curious. I love reading your comments. You guys always share really helpful information as to whether or not something works well for you. So anyway, that's the end of my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I will put some videos on the screen for you right now if you guys want to hang out on my channel a little bit longer and watch another one of my videos. And I will see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye.